The film opens with an elderly woman known for her temper named Ellen Cole. One day, Ellen goes to a pharmacy to pick up her regular medication. After that, Ellen stops by a convenience store and buys 2 cases of drinks. At the same time, not far from there, the local sheriff Winston catches a young woman named Abby stealing several chocolate bars and a few packs of beef jerky from the same convenience store. After questioning her, Winston learns that Abby's father had recently died due to alcohol addiction. Now that she no longer has any family left, Abby decides to leave the town for good. However, since she has neither money nor a clear destination, Abby desperately steals food to bring along for the journey. Instead of arresting Abby, Winston feels sorry for her. He simply gives her a warning, then orders his deputy, Henry, to drive Abby to the edge of town.
Your mouth is dirtier than the dishwater at the apple.
During the drive, Henry tries several times to start a conversation with Abby. However, she only gives short answers and chooses to keep to herself.
To speak to me once you started working for him.
Mr. Cochran always seen was...
A little while later, Henry drops her off near a gas station. When she gets there, 2 men named Kyle and Dwayne see Abby trying to find a ride to continue her journey. They approach her and offer her a ride, but Abby immediately refuses. Even so, they keep pressuring her until Abby starts feeling scared and uncomfortable.
What's bothering you? Oh yeah? I like that.
Just as things are starting to get heated, Ellen, who witnesses the situation, immediately steps in. Ellen walks over to them and asks Abby to come with her. Abby accepts the offer, but Kyle and Dwayne try to stop them.
Hey, I'm still talking to you!
You're gonna want to let this one go.
Hey!
Unexpectedly, despite her old age, Ellen easily takes both men down. Abby is amazed because Ellen's fighting skills don't match her age at all. Abby thanks Ellen for saving her. On the way, Ellen learns that Abby is trying to make her way to Mexico. Abby then explains that she's dreamed of visiting Machu Picchu ever since she was young. Hearing that, Ellen immediately clears up Abby's misunderstanding by explaining that Machu Picchu is in Peru, not Mexico. After learning about Abby's situation, Ellen doesn't just drop her off at the highway. Instead, Ellen invites Abby to her ranch, located not far from the dam construction site. Feeling sorry for her, Ellen asks Abby to stay the night so she can have a proper meal and get some rest before continuing her journey. At first, Abby hesitates to accept Ellen's kindness, but she eventually agrees.
Drop me off at like the highway.
Just get in the slow cooker, and if you don't need it, it's...
That afternoon, after sharing a meal, the two have a warm conversation. Ellen reveals that Abby's father used to help her take care of the house after her husband passed away. In return, Abby explains that her father began drowning his sorrows in alcohol after Richard's workers arrived to build a dam in their area. Abby's father loved the small river in the area and was devastated when its flow was damaged because of the project. In the end, he won the dam and died by drowning. Since then, Abby has grown sick of the town she lives in and has dreamed of traveling the world. After hearing the story, Ellen says that leaving teaches people many things, but everyone still needs a place to come home to. To lighten the mood, Ellen jokes that the two of them are now both orphans. The joke makes them laugh and helps them forget, if only for a moment, the burdens they've been carrying.
You're an orphan now.
Yeah, seems that way.
The next morning, a powerful land developer named Richard Duke arrives at Ellen's ranch in a luxury limousine with his right-hand man, Clay. Richard tries to persuade Ellen to sell her land because he believes the location is perfect for the resort project he's planning. In return, Richard offers her a huge amount of money, lets Ellen choose any vacant property in his development, and even promises her lifetime VIP membership. However, Ellen turns down every offer without hesitation. Her refusal only makes Richard push even harder. Ellen firmly repeats that as long as she's still alive, the ranch will never be sold, no matter how much money he's willing to pay. Annoyed, Richard finally gets back into his limousine. Inside the vehicle, Richard secretly orders Clay to get rid of Ellen by any means necessary.
Don't tell me how, I don't want to know. Mother! Fucking shit stain! Stacked on top of each other. How much of...
That night, Without Abby knowing, Ellen packs various supplies into the young woman's backpack for her journey. Ellen also gives Abby a hunting knife for protection and reminds her to always think smart and be careful wherever she goes. Deeply touched, Abby sincerely thanks her.
I'm alone. I'm not lonely.
What are you gonna do? You just...
Later that same night, Kyle and Dwayne, who work for Richard, secretly sneak into Ellen's house. They've been ordered to hurt Ellen and make everything look like an accident. Dwayne starts damaging the staircase, but the noise wakes Ellen up. As soon as she realizes there are intruders, Ellen immediately attacks. Despite her old age, Ellen manages to knock Dwayne unconscious by striking him with an oxygen tank. At the same time, Abby also wakes up after hearing the commotion and accidentally comes face to face with Kyle, who immediately chases her into the house. During the struggle, Abby finds a pistol inside a closet. In a panic, Abby shoots Kyle in the shoulder. Hurt and terrified, Kyle immediately runs away. Meanwhile, Abby can only stand there in shock over what she has just done. Ellen then calms Abby down and tells her not to say anything because Ellen will take full responsibility for what happened. Elsewhere, Kyle immediately reports their failure to Clay. Here in the report, Clay is extremely disappointed that his two men couldn't even take down an old woman. The next morning, the police arrive at Ellen's house and arrest Dwayne. However, instead of investigating the break-in from the previous night, Sheriff Winston brings up the fight between Ellen, Kyle, and Dwayne at the gas station. Not long afterward, the police find several marijuana plants in Ellen's shed. Ellen explains that the plants are only for personal use. However, Winston says that Montana law prohibits anyone from possessing more than 4 marijuana plants. Because of that, the possession can be classified as a felony with the intent to distribute. Ironically, even though Ellen's house had just been broken into by 2 armed masked men, the victim is the one who ends up getting arrested. Henry clearly seems reluctant to carry out the order, but as a deputy, he has no choice but to take Ellen to the police station. While Ellen is taken away, Abby stays behind alone at the ranch. Sometime later, while exploring the house, Abby discovers a secret room beneath the basement. Inside, she finds a collection of various firearms, several passports, and old photos of Ellen wearing a military uniform. From what she discovers, Abby begins to realize that Ellen may have once been a soldier or even had a very dangerous job in the past. Meanwhile, at the police station, one of the officers notices a tiger tattoo on Ellen's body and compliments it, saying it looks cool. The officer even shows off a Taylor Swift tattoo of his own as a joke. At the same time, Dwayne threatens that something bad is going to happen to Ellen's house. However, Ellen responds to the threat by mocking Dwayne's still injured nose. Not long afterward, Dwayne is released on bail, while Ellen remains locked up in a cell. Ellen keeps urging Sheriff Winston to protect her home. She also insists that Richard is the mastermind behind the break-in, but Winston completely ignores the accusation. Feeling that she's not getting justice, Ellen openly accuses Winston of being Richard's puppet. Before ending the conversation, Ellen asks one last time whether Winston truly has no intention of protecting her property. Winston coldly replies that he has no intention of doing that.
Now you're wasting taxpayer money.
Goddamn you, woman.
Not long afterward, Kyle and Dwayne bring several gas cans with the intention of burning Ellen's house to the ground. On the other hand, Henry begins to worry about Ellen's safety. He brings Ellen's oxygen tank to the holding cell. When he gets there, he finds Ellen lying on the floor, so he immediately goes inside to help her. However, it is all just a trick. The moment Henry lets his guard down, Ellen snatches his pistol and locks him inside the cell. When a female police officer tries to stop Ellen with a taser, Ellen quickly turns the tables and takes down both officers. After escaping from the police station, Ellen immediately returns home. When she gets there, Ellen hands Abby the keys to her truck and tells her to leave as far away as possible before the police arrive. Ellen insists that she can handle everything on her own, but Abby firmly refuses to leave her behind.
Well, I've seen way more than just your larder.
Not yours. Time to go.
Okay.
Then you know I'm going to be okay.
Not long afterward, a group of police officers surrounds Ellen's house. Meanwhile, the elderly woman calmly stands on her balcony, waiting for them. Sheriff Winston then confronts Ellen, pointing his pistol directly at her. However, Ellen easily snatches the weapon from him and knocks Winston to the ground in an instant.
Do not take another...
Motor pool.
All of the officers who witness the incident are immediately shocked by the elderly woman's abilities. Feeling humiliated in front of his own men, Winston immediately orders all of his officers to bring out heavier weapons.
Grandma, listen. Chief, you go with Floyd and you break out the big guns. The woman already put you on your back.
Meanwhile, Henry tries to calm his superior down. He warns him not to let the situation get any worse because Abby is still inside the house. Henry doesn't want the young woman to become caught in the crossfire. A short time later, Henry enters the house without carrying any weapon. He tries to persuade Abby to come outside safely. However, Abby refuses because she's convinced the police will hurt Ellen as soon as she surrenders. After that, Abby shows Henry something she had found earlier. Abby admits that she had always believed her father was simply mentally ill, but now she's no longer sure that was the case. Abby then shows Henry a map containing a series of suspicious incidents at several ranches besides the one in their area. One ranch had burned to ground, but the authorities claimed it was nothing more than a grass fire. At another ranch, all the livestock suddenly died from botulism, even though the disease is extremely rare in that region. Not long after that, the owner of that ranch was reported to have committed suicide. At first, Henry believes all of the incidents are just coincidences and unrelated. However, the more evidence Abby shows him, the more Henry realizes that someone has been deliberately covering up what really happened behind all those incidents. All this time, Abby believes Henry was the officer who found her father's body at the dam. However, Henry clears up the misunderstanding. He explains that he was only the first officer to arrive at the scene. The person who actually found Abby's father's body was one of Richard's men. That fact leads Abby and Henry to begin suspecting that Abby's father was actually murdered by Richard's hired men. Not long afterward, Clay arrives with several of his heavily armed men. Knowing that Abby is still inside the house, Sheriff Winston asked for more time so the young woman can be evacuated first. Clay eventually gives them 3 minutes.
Those are Duke's men. The police will do nothing to stop them.
Those men are law enforcement.
Winston immediately contacts Henry over the radio and orders him to bring Abby outside. However, Henry refuses. He even questions why Richard's men are at the scene. Although reluctantly, Winston eventually signals Clay to begin the assault. Even though the situation is starting to look like a conspiracy, Henry still hopes it's all just a misunderstanding. He continues to believe that Winston is fundamentally a good man. On the other hand, Abby is convinced that Winston has spent years allowing innocent people to become victims while turning a blind eye to all the crimes taking place. Seeing that Henry is still trying to stop her plan, Ellen suddenly knocks him unconscious. Together with Abby, Ellen drags Henry's unconscious body into the secret room beneath the basement and ties him up so he won't get caught in the gunfight that's about to happen. For their own safety, Ellen then locks Abby and Henry inside the hidden room.
Ellen!
Sorry.
Meanwhile, more of Clay's forces begin to arrive. This time, they're no longer hired thugs, but a group of highly trained professional mercenaries. As they prepare to storm Ellen's house, Ellen calmly sets up various traps throughout every corner of her home. At the same time, the police begin investigating Ellen's background. At first, they only discover that Ellen moved to Bighorn Ridge in 1999. Before that, there are almost no records of her identity. However, after a photo of Ellen's tiger tattoo is sent to the FBI, the truth about her is finally revealed. Ellen turns out to be from Russia and a former KGB agent known by the nicknames Sor and Silent. The discovery proves that Ellen isn't just a skilled fighter, but also a former professional assassin who spent years being trained to eliminate her targets. Meanwhile, as the mercenaries move toward the back of the house, Dwayne accidentally notices several of Ellen's shooting practice targets. Every single bullet hole is dead center without a single miss. The moment Dwayne realizes the kind of person they're about to face, he immediately panics. Clay's men's original plan is to ram the house with a vehicle. However, before they can get close, Ellen shoots out the vehicle's tires, forcing them to abandon the plan. At the back of the house, the mercenaries begin falling into Ellen's traps one by one. Dwayne's fear keeps growing until he finally decides to run away and abandon his teammates. Not long afterward, the situation turns into a full-scale gunfight as a hail of bullets rains down on Ellen's house from every direction. Ellen is forced to take cover, while waiting for a chance to return fire. Little by little, the mercenaries manage to get closer to the house. As Kyle opens the front door, another trap explodes and blasts him back into the yard. Eventually, the armed men manage to get inside the house. However, Ellen moves silently through the darkness. She watches their every move while waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Meanwhile, Abby desperately tries to find a way out of the secret room. One of the mercenaries hears noise coming from behind the hidden door and starts trying to break it down. At the same time, Ellen hunts down the mercenaries one by one with truly deadly skill. She takes them down with incredible speed and precision, then grabs their weapons to use against the rest of them. Nearly every shot she fires hits its target. A single bullet is enough to take down every opponent she faces. Meanwhile, Abby finally manages to untie Henry. But at that exact moment, one of the mercenaries breaks into the room and immediately opens fire on them without mercy. In another part of the house, Ellen starts having trouble breathing as the gunfight drags on. She tries to reach her oxygen tank, but Clay sees the opportunity and immediately opens fire. Ellen returns fire, but Clay uses one of his own men's bodies as a human shield. Eventually, Ellen runs out of ammunition. Seeing Ellen's incredible skills, Clay even takes a moment to praise her. According to him, if Ellen were still in her prime, she would have been a killing machine that was almost impossible to stop. After that, Clay throws Ellen to the ground and prepares to finish her off. Just before pulling the trigger, he asks if Ellen has any last requests. Calmly, Ellen simply asks Clay to aim for her head. However, when Clay turns around, he sees Henry already standing there with a pistol pointed at him. A short time later, Ellen, Abby, and Henry manage to overpower and tie up Clay. They then interrogate him and ask why Richard is so determined to kill Ellen as quickly as possible. After all, in less than a year, the government is set to take ownership of the land. That's when Clay finally reveals the truth that has been hidden all this time. He explains that Richard owes a massive amount of money to a group of dangerous people. If his resort project isn't completed before next summer, Richard's own life will be on the line. That's why Ellen has to be eliminated as quickly as possible so Richard can move forward with building his resort. Meanwhile, Ellen's condition keeps getting worse, forcing her to take her medication immediately. While Abby is helping her, a bottle opener accidentally falls to the floor. Without anyone noticing, Clay quietly picks it up and hides it. When Abby takes Ellen to another room so she can rest, Clay keeps provoking Henry. Clay mocks him by saying that Sheriff Winston has abandoned him and left him to die. The remark causes Henry to lose his temper. He angrily approaches Clay, without realizing that Clay has been waiting for the perfect chance to fight back. Taking advantage of Henry's guard being down, Clay immediately attacks him with the bottle opener he had hidden earlier. A short time later, when Abby and Ellen return to the room, they find that Clay has set the house on fire and taken Henry hostage. Seeing this, Ellen immediately fires a barrage of shots at Clay as he tries to escape. However, Clay still manages to escape the house. Once outside, Clay's men immediately surround the house and keep it under non-stop gunfire so no one can get out. As the flames grow bigger and begin consuming the entire house, Abby and Henry head back to the secret room beneath the basement. They gather several important items, then escape through a secret tunnel leading outside the house. From a distance, Clay and his men can only watch as Ellen's house is slowly consumed by the fire. They believe Ellen, Abby, and Henry have died trapped inside. But without them knowing, the three of them have already escaped. Before leaving, Ellen can only watch as her home slowly collapses into ashes. Heartbroken, she watches the place that meant the most to her disappear before her eyes. The next morning, Clay's men search through the burned remains of the house, looking for their bodies. Meanwhile, Ellen has already taken Abby and Henry to a truck hidden deep in the woods.
Get in.
During the trip, Ellen finally reveals her entire past. She admits that ever since childhood, she never had a place she could truly call home. While living on the streets with her mother, Ellen was recruited by the KGB and trained to become a professional assassin. Years later, Ellen met the man who would eventually become her husband. It was with him that Ellen experienced the meaning of having a family for the first time and finally found a real home. But now everything is gone. Losing that home reopens old wounds that Ellen has been trying to forget for years. Realizing that the only way to bring Richard down is with solid evidence, the three of them go to the last property that belonged to Abby's late father and begin searching through everything he left behind. There, they find various documents proving that Richard's construction project is connected to the destruction of several ranches in the area.
Yes.
You have got to be kidding me.
Meanwhile, Richard receives a phone call from a Russian group that loaned him a huge amount of money. They order Richard to come in person to sign an important document. If he refuses, they won't hesitate to send someone to kill him. Meanwhile, Abby finally understands the truth that had been hidden all this time. She realizes that for years, she hated her own father and even felt ashamed of him, looking down on him just like everyone else in their town did. But now, Abby knows that her father was never crazy or an alcoholic. From the very beginning, everything he accused Richard of was true. Richard really was a mastermind behind the many tragedies that struck their town. After learning the truth, Abby and Ellen become determined to make Richard pay for everything he has done. Meanwhile, Henry meets with Sheriff Winston and tells him that the state police are on their way to arrest him.
Thank you.
That night, Richard finally learns that Ellen is still alive. Not long afterward, the power throughout his house suddenly goes out in the darkness. The guards outside begin dying one by one under mysterious circumstances. Ellen silently takes them out, eliminating each guard with deadly speed and precision. Overcome with fear, Dwayne quickly hides Richard inside a closet and hands him a pistol. After that, Dwayne stands guard outside while trying to keep his growing fear under control. At the same time, Abby secretly plants explosives at the dam. Just as she's about to finish, Kyle suddenly appears. With an arrogant grin, Kyle admits that he was the one who killed Abby's father. After making a confession, Kyle immediately attacks Abby and brutally beats her while constantly mocking her. In the middle of the fight, Abby quietly pulls out the hunting knife Ellen gave her. The moment she sees an opening, Abby drives a knife into Kyle's stomach, causing him to collapse in a pool of blood. Abby then leaves him there, barely alive. Meanwhile, at Richard's mansion, all the guards have been killed by Ellen. Hiding inside the closet, Richard hears footsteps getting closer and closer. Terrified, he panics and blindly fires through the closet door until every round in his pistol is gone. A moment later, Ellen opens the closet door and immediately points her gun at Richard. Richard thinks Ellen has come to kill him. However, Ellen calmly explains that Richard isn't her main target. The person she truly wants to face is Clay, the man who burned down her house.
For him.
Not long afterward, Clay arrives. Ellen stares at him and firmly declares that their fight has become personal ever since Clay destroyed the home that meant the most to her. Before the fight begins, Ellen shoots Clay in the hand, causing him to drop his weapon. Clay then challenges Ellen to a one-on-one fight without using firearms, and Ellen accepts the challenge without hesitation. At the beginning of the fight, Clay gains the upper hand and knocks Ellen down several times. However, the tide gradually turns. Ellen manages to stab one of Clay's eyes. Then, when he tries to strike back with a knife, Ellen takes the weapon from him and uses it to end Clay's life. After the fight is over, Ellen captures Richard and takes him into the woods. There, Ellen signals Abby. Without hesitation, Abby detonates the explosive she planted, blowing the dam to pieces. Filled with rage, Richard continues cursing Ellen. However, a short time later, a member of the Russian group arrives to collect the documents Richard was supposed to sign earlier. What happens next is completely unexpected for Richard. The Russian man immediately recognizes Ellen and shows her tremendous respect. As the two of them speak in Russian, Richard smiles because he thinks the man has come to kill Ellen. But the truth is just the opposite. Ellen deliberately lets the Russian group take Richard away because she knows the fate waiting for him in their hands will be far worse than death. A few days later, Abby reads a newspaper reporting that Richard is still missing following the bloody incident. Not long afterward, Henry, who has officially become the new sheriff, arrives to deliver Ellen's prescription. Before Abby finally leaves town, she and Henry say goodbye to each other with mutual respect. In the end, Ellen and Abby leave the town together in the trailer that belonged to Abby's father. For the first time, they begin their long journey to Machu Picchu, the place Abby has dreamed of visiting for so long.